Yeah, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Go Rangers Radio right here on the Go Hockey Media Radio Network. Live from New York, baby. Yours truly, Mr. Paul Cuthbert, and without further ado, your friend and mine, Mr. Kevin DeLury. KD, baby, how you doing, buddy?
Good, buddy. How are you? Hopefully, I decided this week not to broadcast from a cave, so hopefully there'll be no echoing going on.
Oh, buddy, you know that's my fault. Thanks for trying to be kind, but you know it was me. It's okay, man. You can give me the business. Give me the business.
That's all right. That's right. Paulie got it right. It's why we pay him the big bucks.
Oh, yeah. And Krugerrands, no less. And Skittles.
It's going to be the smooth sounds of Kevin DeLury tonight. So, yeah, courtesy of Mr. Paul Cuthbert.
Welcome to Go Rangers Radio, ladies. Kevin DeLury is on the other side. What's up, everybody? 33 games in, 16, 13, and 4. Your New York Rangers good for 36 points, 6th in the Metro, 22nd in the National Hockey League, and 5 points out of a wild card there, KD. Last 3 games since we've been on air, your stupid predictions. Let's talk about the West Coast a little bit. Last game, they won 6-3 against the Sharks. Nice, fun game that was. And then a boring game against the Ducks. Lost 4-3 in the shootout loss. And then came home to New York, baby, and let the Preds eat them up. And I feel better that the Preds actually went out and destroyed the Icelanders last night. Doesn't make me feel as too bad. But there's where we are, buddy, since me and you last spoketh.
Yeah, I think the California trip really turned into a goaltending controversy.
What?
Between Mr. Georgiev and the King. The Twitter wars this week and weekend about the decline of Lundqvist and how he is now costing us games. And Georgiev, full-time starter, is quite interesting.
What a load of crap.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is was the main sort of takeaway, at least from the fan side of things, from that West Coast trip, was that you saw fans. I mean, I think I was up for hours after the Ducks game, just fighting with fans on Twitter, just about Lundqvist and, how he's done, and let's get rid of him, and we got to do 3 goalies on the NHL roster now. And it's like, goodness gracious, this guy is like a legend. Trust me, I can absolutely admit that his skills are declining. He's turning into an average goalie, above average goalie. We're just not used to seeing this from him. And I actually think and I said this on Twitter, I think he's a victim of his own success. He's been so good for so long that now you're seeing him let in, the occasional bad goal. And it looks bad. He lets in one. That's what normal goalies do. Normal goalies let in a bad goal or a couple of bad goals a game. And now we're seeing that from Lundqvist, and people don't know what to do. That's it. It's over. Georgiev's got to play every game now. It's crazy.
I thought we nipped this in the butt. I thought we told everybody to chill out until after the new year, until we get closer to the spring, until we see what's going on here. I mean, everybody's all of a sudden, everybody's forgotten about the games against the Canes and how he stood on his head and everything else. Look, I said, I can't remember what game it was. I have to put the schedule up here. But I did say in one of the games that I felt that, Hank looked a little slow. I think it was against Vegas. It was the night against Vegas when the team I thought didn't play too bad. And that I thought Hank just didn't play, a stellar game that night.
The Vegas game at home. The Vegas game at MSG.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. The Vegas game at home. But I didn't bury the guy. To me it was just like, hey, he just seemed like he was a little bit off of this. I think all of us have to really kind of relax here with the goaltending situation. I mean, it's a good situation for us. We've gone through. They're not scoring. There's only 2 guys on the team right now who are putting the puck in the net. That's the number one problem. And then as far as the solidifying everything up defensively, whether it's Hayden or, Stahl here or whatever's going to go on, and then everybody else. I mean, I think that's the bigger issue right now as far as instead of the goaltending, KD.
Oh, I agree. And look, I readily admit, like I said before, it's okay to admit that Lundqvist's skills are declining and he's not the same goalie he was 5 years ago. I mean, I'm with everybody on that, but it was just was like vitriol against the guy, and like, well, what have you done for me lately? It's like, oh my goodness, this guy like, single-handedly got the organization into the playoffs every year. I mean, he's built up some type of equity with this fan base to be like, all right, he had a bad week. Like suddenly, people want him traded, and how can we demote him, and can we buy him out? And I was like, oh my goodness, this
maybe
is Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, maybe what we have to do is especially on Twitter, and this is where me and you do most of our dirty work. Maybe everybody has to put their age at the top of their Twitter account so we can kind of, because guys like me and you who are pushing our 90s is a little different than say fans who are like in their teens and their early 20s that are just kind of watching what's going on here. So that might be something different as far as patience, and then hey, look, I don't maybe necessarily blame the younger generations of Ranger fans right now who see a young guy like Shesty down south, and then or I should say up north in Connecticut, and Georgiev playing the way he is. As a collective thing here with the team, what's the deal here, KD? Is it a rebuild? Are we gonna have patience with this team, or is it just like guys have a bad game, you got to get rid of them? There's no patience anymore. I mean, now Kreider's getting, they're talking about trading Kreider, all this stuff, which has kind of been in the discussion anyway. But I think the team is okay for where it is, and I brought this up at the last show too. I mean, there's about 10, 12 teams that they're right in the pack with as far as, being competitive. So it's really not that bad.
Going into the Nashville game, we were only 2 points out of a playoff spot. I mean, that's changed over the course of the last 2 days where what are we, 5 back now or something like that? So, but we were like right there like 2 days ago. We're there. It's December. We're fighting for a playoff spot. This is great. We're supposed to be in a rebuild, but we're still fighting for a playoff spot. I mean, what more can you ask for from the team right now? I mean, look, they're going to have bad games and whatnot, and they're going to be inconsistencies with a young team. But overall, you still have to be happy with what's going on, the direction that the team is going in. And yeah, look, Lundqvist is going to stumble here. You had to know that his contract, the end of his contract, when he's pushing 40, was going to be tough. Yes, you're spending, $8 million, over $8 million on a 40-year-old goaltender with declining skills. It's not a good look, but it is what it is. You paid the guy for what he had done, what you thought he was going to do at the time. And look, took us to a Stanley Cup final, couple of conference finals, and, unfortunately we weren't able to get the cup for the guy. But look, he still, like you said, he still has those games where, he had the Carolina game. And, the LA game, he let in 3 goals. In the Ducks game, he let in 3 goals as well. Guess what? Georgiev let up 3 goals against San Jose, and he won. So it looks different because they won. Lundqvist let up 3 goals against the Kings, and they lost because they only scored once. That's not his fault. Like you mentioned, there's 2 guys scoring on this team right now, Zibanejad and Panarin, and that's it.
It's crazy, man. It's bad, and I guess we can. Where do you want to go here? I mean,
Well, let me do this because I pointed out, and you know what? I went over these stats last week when I was in the cave.
You said no stats on this show. What are you doing to me, buddy?
I'm coming back with these stats.
All right.
Listen, taking out, this is our top 9. Let me go over the scoring situation of our top 9 right now. Strome has 1 goal in his last 20 games. 1. Buchnevich has 1 goal in his last 12 games. Kakko has 0 goals in his last 16 games. Hedl has 1 goal in his last 12 games. Howden has 1 goal in his last 25 games.
It hurts too much, Kevin. Stop.
Kreider, although Kreider's been scoring a little bit lately, he scored the other night against Nashville, and he scored out in California. But he still only has 2 goals in the last 11 games. And then Fost, who's scoring a little bit as well, he has 3 goals in his last 26 games. And then you have Panarin, who has 8 goals in his last 7 games, and Zibanejad, who has 5 goals in the last 5 games. I mean, that's the problem. Lundqvist is not the problem. Are his skills diminishing? Yes. Is he getting old? Yes. Is Georgiev outplaying him? Yes. But the scoring right now is the problem.
I mean, it's right there in front of everybody's face. I mean, this is it. I mean, look, it's been talked about ad nauseum as far as, even on the MSG networks and everywhere else. They're not shooting. There's no flow. I mean, again, I'll bring it up, man. It was, a couple of weeks back. What kind of a system do they have? Capo's back down on the fourth line now. I mean, there's all this. I guess, it's just a whole lot of muck that's going on out there, and they can't get anything going. And this is, part of the whole collective observation here of this rebuild of a team. I mean, this is just the frustrations of it, and a second-year coach. So they've got a winning record. They're 5 points out of the wild card. They're sitting in a pack of 10, 11 teams, which have about the same amount of points. We're heading into the, the new year here. They've got, a tough 6 games coming up here. There's no doubt about it. Before we strike midnight here on New Year's Eve, and we'll talk about that a little later too. But, this is what it is. I mean, it's the scoring now, and, some nights it's Hank. The night against Tampa it was Georgiev, when he got blown out that night. But they're in it. They're still kind of they're in it, and it's just frustrating to watch. But I think we just have to just understand that these are the New York Rangers we have right now.
Yeah, and actually I think that they've been playing a little bit better lately, because for the most part this season they've been completely outshot in games. They're giving up 40 shots on goal a game. They're giving up like 70 shot attempts a game, whatever it is. The last couple of games, the San Jose game, I thought they played very well. The Anaheim game, I thought they played well. I do think that Lundqvist did deserve some of the blame. The last 2 goals that he gave up were pretty bad. Those are 2 he should have. Now, having said that, the Rangers did give up 41 shots. And then the Nashville game. The Nashville game, they should have won. I mean, that's, you never like to blame the refs. But I'm going to blame the refs. That was atrocious. Did you see Valaket after that game? He was losing his mind. He was so angry at the officials. It was hysterical. I was dying laughing just watching how angry he was at the officials. It was great. But I don't necessarily think that they've been playing that poorly. I think that they've turned a little bit, maybe defensively, where they're not giving up as many shots. But I think the Nashville game, look, that's coming back from a long trip. I thought they played real solid, and that game really did turn on the officiating, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a handful of those games during the season where you're going to watch what's going on in front of you. You're going to scratch your head. I've been a big. I don't get the 2 referee system, to be honest with you. I don't see how 2 guys out there can either not make the calls or make the same mistakes, or they're all looking different ways. I mean, guys are just getting buried on the side of the net the other night, in that game, and they're just. I don't know what they're looking at. And then you have 2 other linesmen out there, and they're just not catching it. And then you have player safety, which is just, what's going on in there? They just, throwing marbles up in the air, and whatever doesn't roll under the couch, that's the, that's going to be the fine or the fee or the suspension. I mean, but as an NHL fan, I mean, that's just something we just have to live with right now. I mean, you can get frustrated. The bottom line is you got to put the puck in the net. And the Rangers just aren't doing that right now, and they've got to find a way to get out of it. And, whether that's going to happen here on Friday night against Toronto, who knows? I will point this out. I think some of the teams they've played here in the last 4 or 5 games, San Jose was they kind of hit them at the right time because DeBoer got fired. That I brought it up last week too. Actually, nobody heard it because of my horrible editing here in the studio. But I was going on about how boring that Kings game was, and they're playing a team that's just they're struggling too. They can't score either. So between collectively as a young group gelling together,